Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the podcast. This is 99 Everything with Jonathan Lau, the podcast where we try to maximize every single dimension of our lives because we want the best life possible. So today we have another solo pod, and what I wanted to talk about today was intuition versus fear. And you're probably like, what is this like spiritual woo woo stuff? Like, why does this apply to me? Because honestly, I think a lot of people don't understand this, and it's why they don't do things, why they tend to stay stuck, why they tend to not make good decisions, and why they may. I think the biggest thing is not understanding this may make people feel stuck and not take action. So today I wanted just to talk about this because I feel like a lot of people, once they bring this into their awareness, they'll start to understand why. Because look, I think it's very common right now. There's either a camp where it's like, you know, like fuck your feelings, just do it anyway. And then a lot of people are like, what? Aren't we supposed to be emotional intelligent? Aren't we supposed to understand our feelings? And some people kind of like be like, oh, I need to really be in tune with myself. I need to like feel things and like it's almost like it's like a different. There's different two different type of energies if you want to think about it. But if yeah, once again, once I started understanding this a lot more, now I know when to feel my feelings and when not to. And it's very, very like complicated. Oh, not really. It sounds complicated, but it's not really. And I hopefully through this podcast today, this episode, you'll be able to understand this. And I think it will benefit anyone who has trouble making decisions, just for people who feel stuck. Okay, so if that's you, keep listening. All right. So, what is intuition? I would like to classify intuition as when you have this inkling, we can call it the gut feeling, right? When you just know that this is something that is right for you, or when you know like this is not right. So it sounds really like woo woo because it's like that's not logical, that's not objective, that's not, yeah, it's not objective, it's not something that you can classify uh, in a way. It's like a feeling. So like, are you telling me to like make decisions on feelings? Not necessarily. So let me just keep explaining. And let's use the other term as fear, right? Because, for example, your friend's like, hey, you should jump from this like 20-meter cliff into the water. It'll be a good idea. And the part of that is like fear, because you're like, that sounds like terrifying. I don't want to do that. Another side of that is like, oh, maybe I should do it because I'm just staying in my comfort zone. So a lot of people will have trouble like differentiating when to do something, because they're worried that it's actually bad for them versus like, hey, am I just like stuck in my comfort zone? Like, so which feeling should I trust? Here's another thing, you know, for many people, they lose their sense of like intuition because I think when you numb yourself through like, let's say a bad experience, or let's say like through trauma, your ability to trust yourself gets a bit terrible, because you've made a bad decision. Now you think, oh, I can't trust myself. Like from now on, I don't know what to do. I don't want to make that bad mistake again, right? So, yeah, some people start to lose that sense of intuition. And I think a good way to start to rebuild that is to just every day before you make a decision, you just kind of like check in with yourself and kind of feel like, do I feel good about this or do I not feel good about this? And it's tricky in the beginning because you don't know how you feel when you're not aware of it, right? So, for example, let's say you're with a bunch of friends and they're like, hey, I think we should go to this club. It's like, or like this event, it's popping off, and like part of you's like, oh, like I really want to go, but at the same time, um, it's not. I need to like get my sleep. I've committed to like a training program recently, so I need to like stay in. So your feeling may be to go, but your intuition is really telling you like this is not going to be good for me. And look, it's tricky. I understand it's tricky, but the more you get in tune with this, these decisions get easier and easier. Because on the flip side, let's say someone who's like super rigid, who doesn't want to go out, their comfort zone that might continue to like put them in. I'm not going to go out. I just want to like do work on myself and like blah blah blah. But another thing is like going out is connecting with your friends. It's socializing. That's really important in terms of enriching your whole life. So that's why intuition and fear and staying in your comfort zone, they're very, very subjective, and it really comes down to like how it feels for you. It's like, is this energy bringing or is this energy draining? And looking at life through this is, I guess, a more spiritual episode. It's like nothing's really grounded in anything. Like there's no scientific evidence for this like helping anyone. But it's something that I've done in my life, and I find it really helps me. Because there's people who've had like years where they're like, I don't feel like I've done anything. I feel like I'm in the same place. I'm not growing, and then that's why people make New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, right? And a lot of times, I feel like it's because they've lost that sense of intuition of when to like keep moving forward or when to like stay with the things they need to do. But yeah, let's come back to developing into it. Here's a good one. Let's use this example. Let's say there's a girl you see somewhere and you're like, oh, she looks really pretty. I want to go talk to her. And you suddenly get this thought in your head, which is like, no, that's a bad idea. Like she's going to reject me, or like it's not a good place to do that right now. It's kind of like not socially acceptable. Like all these thoughts will come in. And in this example, I think that's fear. And that's your comfort zone speaking to you, wanting to not make you do things that are risky, But your intuition is probably saying like, that's good for you because that's what you want. If you want a partner or if you want a girlfriend, like that's something you have to do, right? So here's an example of when you should feel your fear, feel the feeling, but still do it, because there's an obvious positive goal at the end that is going to be beneficial to your life. And look, we can extrapolate that to like, let's say, a job where you have to do, let's say, sales. It's not, you don't want, you always see those people like in the shopping centers, like with World Vision, or like, let's say like, I don't know, some World Vision thing where they're trying to sell to people. And look, that's not an easy job, right? And a lot of times it'll be easy for that person to be like, oh, I don't want to talk to this person because they look like they won't say yes. And that's like your fear. That's your comfort zone, once again, telling you not to speak to someone. But what's the end goal? It's to help out this like cause. It's for that person to make a sale. Like it helps to kind of envision what the actual end goal is in order to make a decision that you feel like is difficult to make, right? So yeah, in this example, it's always like rational to just be like, oh, that's not a good idea. But sometimes you have to just check in and see if that's your comfort zone speaking to you. And a lot of the times when you don't do that thing, you'll feel worse. And then you'll know that was your intuition that was actually telling you to go do it, So just to kind of like clear the podcast so far, because it kind of feels really jumbled. Basically, look at the end goal and see if that is going to be a positive or negative in your life. And then also check that if you do it, how do you feel after? And if you don't do it, how do you feel after? And that can kind of help you gauge if that was your intuition speaking or if that was your fear speaking. Because a lot of times when you say like, let's say you say no to going out and then you stay at home, the next day you actually feel good because you're like, man, I wanted to go because I felt FOMO. But now that I said no, like now I've actually stuck to my goals of like, my fitness, improving my sleep, improving my energy. And that was your intuition trying to tell you not to do it in the first place. Look, it's super woo-woo and super like spiritual and not, like I said, not grounded in anything, but it's something that I think will help a lot of people in terms of figuring out when to feel their feelings and when not to, or when to listen to their feelings or when not to. And it's like, I think a lot of people can also sense it when you're around someone and just like something's not quite right. That's probably your intuition speaking, telling you that there's something not quite right, And it honestly just takes, if you want to be objective about it, you can write this down in a journal. And every time let's say you write situation, how I felt after. And then you can kind of start to screen like, okay, these are all the things that I said I felt good after. Okay, let's continue to do these things. That's my intuition speaking. And then on the other side, like when you said no to something and you felt worse after, you can like, okay, that's my fear speaking. I need to be mindful of that. And the next time something like that happens, and just do it anyway, So we can use the gym as an example. There's many times when you're like, oh, I feel tired today and I have that work thing tomorrow. I need to be energized. I'm not going to go to the gym. Or I'm just tired tonight. I'm just going to eat Uber Eats tonight and I'm not going to like meal prep. And look, a lot of the times the fear will sound very logical. It will sound like a great reason, but a lot of the times it's just your comfort zone. I've found now that when I exercise, I actually feel better after. A lot of people, when they first start training, they feel tired and like they push themselves too hard. Like exercise is kind of a long-term thing. Like in the short term, it's just going to feel tiring, but in the long term, your energy actually improves. So now, yeah, my energy improves and I'm like, even when those days when I'm like, I feel like I shouldn't go to the gym, it's not good for me, I do it anyway, I feel better. And then I know, okay, that was my fear speaking, telling me not to go to the gym. And yeah, this just applies to so many things. And I feel why people get stuck is they don't know the difference. They can't tell if this is a good decision or a bad decision. And they kind of just stay stuck. And then they kind of just stay where they are. And then they get confused and they feel crap because they're like, I don't know what to do. They just feel like they don't know what's going on, So bit of a shorter one today, bit of a kind of everywhere one, but this is something I think will help a lot of people in terms of also improving the energy levels, because when you're always making decisions all the time, that's very fatiguing. And I think, you've heard, I'm pretty sure most people who are watching this have heard of the term decision fatigue, which is the more decisions you make during the day, the less energy you have for anything else. And this is why people like Steve Jobs will just wear the same thing every day. Mark Zuckerberg, the same thing, wear the same thing every day. Because if you start to make all these decisions on what you need to wear, what you need to eat, these people have such big decisions they have to make that are going to affect thousands of people, that they can't afford to waste any energy on trivial things. And they've probably developed such a good intuition on I need to make this decision for the company. And even though it's going to affect maybe all these people, it's going to be good for the long term, and it's just, yeah, it just comes back down to energy conservation, because if you want to do anything big in life, you have to have energy. You can't waste time thinking, do I want to eat this today or this today? You can't afford to. Yes, that is pretty much the point of the podcast. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully this was beneficial to someone. Please tell me if this was absolute trash, because it would be good feedback. But yeah, this is also something I give to my coaching clients, because I am an online fitness coach now. And one of the things that's very important is we want to make sure that fitness is our lifestyle. We don't want to add something in that isn't going to be good for us, or add something in without understanding these baseline concepts. Because if you can make someone have an exercise program and they have to struggle with going to the gym, yes or no, all the time, that's going to make them not associate the gym with a good time, So in the setting of the gym, I think it's always good to just go. There's never even when your body's saying, or your brain's saying, this is not a good idea, you should just go. It's only when you become very, very advanced, when you naturally need to take your rest really, really seriously, that I think that's when you should skip it. But I think for a majority of cases, it's never a good idea to skip the gym, because that's going to just create this, you're telling your brain that this is a good thing to start skipping, and you don't want to get into that habit, especially for most people who haven't developed a gym habit, So anyways, basically, listen to your intuition. How you develop that is by looking at the long-term goal. Is that positive or negative to your life? And also how you feel after. Catch you guys on the next one. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please give a rating on Spotify if you enjoyed this kind of stuff. Peace out.